What is up, everybody? It is time for the Sports Frenzy mid-season break. No.
Not at all.
We do not take time off. Although last week, as I explained, I needed some space, just needed to kind of slow the pace down. So my best bud, my brother from another mother, understood, took the week off on my behest. But he is back. He is back. It is time for Sports Frenzy 2.0 with the Conquistador, Dave Height.
He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
July the 12th, 2023. This will hit, of course, Thursday morning, July the 13th. But it is mid-season break for baseball. So as much as it chagrins me, pains me to talk about the once great mid-season classic, I guess we have to. We're duty-bound.
Yeah, you said duty.
I was wondering if you were going to pick up on that.
Because, let's face it, all All-Star games have become duty. They're a crap fest.
And the ratings are showing it. The ratings are plummeting for all four of the major sports and NASCAR as well when you look at their All-Star spectacles.
Yeah,
They're
lame.
They try too many gimmicks. They try too many different things.
We're sick of interviewing the players during the game while they're on the field, on the court. Leave them alone. Let them focus on what they're doing.
Yeah, now you and I, of course, just like it is always, it seems like, whether we're talking about the new Foo Fighters album, we're always on an island on some of this stuff. And you and I were one of the few, the proud, that liked it when they made the All-Star Game in baseball matter for home field in the World Series.
That made the competition so much better. They were playing for something. It was great.
And we're going to talk about that here in a couple minutes when we move on to the NBA. But last night's game, the National League broke their 9-game losing streak. They won 3-2.
Yep, thanks to who was it? Elias Diaz had the game-winning 2-run homer in the 8th inning.
And you just actually, right there, that was perfect. Because I used to know baseball inside and out. I used to know all the managers, almost all the players. Colorado catcher Elias Diaz, no idea who he was until I heard this morning he was the MVP of the All-Star Game.
Yeah.
Had no clue who he was.
There you go.
Yeah.
Blah.
Yeah. Home run derby winner. Now, I know this guy. This guy's a beast. This guy's a monster, even though he's having a down year. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with a record 25 home runs in the final round to win it.
Yep, 72 total on the night.
Yep.
And you kind of have to give it to Julio Rodriguez as well, putting up 41 in the first round to advance, a record round total.
And, of course, in front of the home crowd.
Yep.
So, very cool for him.
So, was it Adley Rutschman from the Orioles?
Right, now I know him, Adley Rutschman. Yeah, he is going to be good in the way the Orioles are playing right now. Again, building it up the right way.
Yep. He put on a show hitting from both sides of the plate, which was an impressive feat, being able to switch it up like that. But Luis Robert knocked him out in the first round, the Sox lone representative in his first home run derby. And, of course, he got a strained calf muscle. Must be his time of the month. So he didn't play in the game. Whatever.
So technically, the White Sox didn't have anybody in the All-Star game.
Nope.
Wow.
Which they don't deserve anybody because they suck.
I knew you were going to say that. I was trying to think of some words of comfort and condolence for you.
Oh, no, they're just god-awful. They're the shit team that I said they were going to be coming out of spring training.
They are still not double digits out yet, though, at the All-Star break. So they're still...
Yeah.
There's still a chance. You're telling me there's a chance.
Wait until the end of this weekend where they will be double digits out.
Well, especially if they don't have Robert, if he's not
playing.
He's
he's probably going to be day-to-day. He'll probably play Friday. But still, that team just sucks. Sitting fourth in the Central at 38-54, 8 games behind the 500 Cleveland Guardians. No hope for this team at all. They just are abysmal. Pedro Grifol is a crap manager, doesn't know how to motivate the team. There's no discipline. Why the hell he insists on keeping Anderson batting first or second in the lineup when he's not hitting for anything, doesn't have the balls to move him down or just outright bench him. I mean, it's absolutely pathetic and frustrating to watch. I'm done.
Yeah, well, the Cubs aren't much better. You've got Luis Robert with the calf. We've got Dansby Swanson with a heel contusion. So he's on the IL. Cubs are third in the NL Central at 42-47. I will give them credit for this. Playing the Evil Empire the last weekend before the All-Star break, beating New York 2 out of 3, made me a little happy.
That was kind of nice.
I have to admit, things were happening in my pants a little bit. Anytime you can beat the Evil Empire, I get a little excited, and I just can't hide it.
There you go.
Third place, 7 games behind the Cincinnati Reds. Young Cincinnati, young Baltimore, young Tampa Bay. This is the formula. Young Atlanta. Really, if you want to look at it that way, and they locked up everybody. The difference, of course, is Atlanta's got some money where they can lock up a lot of their young players, where the Rays kind of have to do it piecemeal and maybe get 1 or 2.
Yeah, they'll get a couple of
It'll be interesting to see with the Reds, with Dela Cruz, this hot young player that just came up.
Lock him up.
Yeah, give him the money.
He is insane. He deserves to be paid.
Yep. Everybody's screaming for him on the All-Star team, but he didn't have enough qualifying at bats.
Yeah.
Now, sticking with your division, the AL Central, how about those Tigers? July the 8th, right before the break.
Right along.
Combined no-hitter versus the Toronto Blue Jays.
They're a scrappy little group. But
they've got a good manager.
A fantastic manager.
We've always said that. We've always said, guys like A.J. Hinch, look at Texas. Look at the Rangers. Oh, look at what's going on with the Rangers. They have Bruce Bochy now as a manager.
Yeah.
They actually have a good manager, a great manager.
Gee, and I think way back when the Sox let go of Ricky Renteria, I was clamoring for A.J. Hinch.
Yes, you were. I am witness. I am witness
clamored,
to that.
And the asshole owner of the Sox, stupid old geriatric, feeble-minded Jerry Reinsdorf, insisted on bringing the drunk La Russa in. Now, granted, it wasn't all La Russa's fault. The team just does not play or perform. He had no control over that team. Grifol obviously has no control over the team. They actually played for Renteria. He held them accountable. Nothing of that for the past 2. Hinch would have held those guys accountable.
Now I have to ask the inevitable question for both of our teams. We have got a little over 2 weeks to go before the trade deadline because, of course, they moved it up a couple years ago from August to the end of July. Are we both sellers?
Rumblings are, there's a report from John Heyman that the Sox are going to be big-time sellers. They've put Cease, Robert, Vaughn, and Jimenez as no touch. Now,
those are no touch.
Those are no touch.
Now, see, remember I told you at the beginning of the season, I had heard that if the Sox were not in contention, they were going to shop Cease.
Yeah, no. Those
Okay.
supposedly those 4 are no touch
Okay.
unless somebody puts together an unbelievable offer
Right.
to get one of them.
Right.
So,
Well, that's something. At least they're saying they're going to keep their core pieces.
yeah, but the only problem with that is you still have the same idiots in the front office calling the shots who have no clue what they're doing.
Well, what about Lucas Giolito?
And his divorce?
I was going to say, you going to pile on the poor guy?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
You going to trade him right after he's announced he's getting a divorce? Come on.
Why
Where's
not?
your heart, man?
Don't
Where's
have
your
one
love
anymore.
for a fellow brother?
I have none for this organization right now. The ineptitude has frustrated me to the point of I don't care.
Yeah. What I've heard of the Cubs, and I knew when they structured a lot of these deals the way they did when they brought guys in, the Yankees are slurping. All the commentators, all the people in New York media slurping over the weekend all over Cody Bellinger. Oh, he would look great in pinstripes, wouldn't he? The Cubs were probably willing to give him up. Oh, I can't wait to get Cody Bellinger here. Shut up! Why don't you worry about the fact that you're just a game or two from being in last place in your division?
How about instead of pilfering from others, you guys might, I don't know, actually start drafting and developing your own talent on a more consistent basis?
Yeah, and of course, the whole Aaron Judge saga. Is he coming back? Is he not? You got Boomer Esiason out there on WFAN showing diagrams of how this is going to affect him with the toe and pushing
forward
off, and how he's not going to be able to perform, at least this year, and without surgery, as well as he would normally.
Whatever.
Panic setting in among New York fans. Shocking. We never see that.
No,
spoiled
there's
brat
no
fans of New York.
There's no overreaction coming out of New York ever.
All right. We move from the mid-season classic to the mid-season tournament. We move to the NBA, where, of course, we kind of heard this was coming. Number one, why the hell do you want to pattern yourself after soccer? Why? Remember, soccer's popular everywhere, but here. But no, the mid-season tournament is coming this year to the NBA, patterned after, again, soccer. Winning team will end up getting $500,000 per player. I don't see how that's an incentive, given these guys, the superstars, are making 30, 40, 50 million a year.
Yeah, it's nothing.
There is no other incentive. There is no boost in your playoff seeding. There's no automatically guaranteed seeding, which I thought would have been a very
cool. You win this tournament, you get a first-round bye.
So the Pistons get on a hot streak, a team that normally right now wouldn't make it. The Rockets, the Magic, guaranteed in if they win this tournament. But no, that requires deep thinking. And outside of Sports Frenzy 2.0, you don't get deep thinking in sports.
No. What would have made it more entertaining? Whichever conference won it, that's who gets home court advantage.
But again, we just talked about this a couple minutes ago. We loved it in baseball. You and I did. They look at it as a failed experiment.
No, it wasn't failed. They just gave up on it because, we can't have ties. We can't stretch out the pitching staff. Boo-hoo-hoo. Bull crap.
So the midseason tournament, as I mentioned, $500,000 per player on the winning team. They've already set the 6 groups, 3 in the East, 3 in the West. The championship game will be December the 9th, blah, 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 blah.
And they're still going to have the stupid-ass All-Star Game at some point, too, aren't they?
Well, all these games in the pools are going to count in the regular season except for the championship game. So I'm surprised the Players Union isn't bitching about that, saying, well, the championship teams have to play an extra game. Oh, my God.
Wah. They get paid enough. Suck it up.
But, I mean, all the permutations, the rules, the regulations in this thing, you people will have to do the homework and look it up, because Dave and I sure as hell don't care enough about the NBA to do it for you.
Nope, not at all.
And this is not going to make me watch the NBA anymore.
No,
Again,
don't care.
if you'd put a playoff spot on the line or home court, like Dave said, I might actually be intrigued. But now, what do I care? The billionaire, millionaire class of NBA players are going to get a little bit of meal money for winning this thing.
Yeah, they're going to get enough to go take their posses out to a strip club and make it rain.
Yeah. Flash a couple guns, do a little dance, make love tonight.
There you go.
You want to give the kids the new rules.
The new rules
Dave.
In the NBA. Second coach's challenge is going to be implemented if the first challenge is successful. I like it. You got that with all the other sports. Why not bring it here? Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, golf clap to the NBA for catching up with everybody else and realizing that, honestly, to me, challenges should go in perpetuity. If you keep winning them, you should keep getting them.
Why not?
You're proven, but now if you lose one,
then you're done.
You're done. It's over.
And you lose whatever.
Timeout, whatever it is. Some kind of little penalty.
Yep.
But if you're right, and you keep showing up the referees or the umpires, whatever, depending on the sport.
Then so be it.
Yeah. Good for you.
Because we want the correct calls. So, the next rule change is the new anti-flopping rule.
Uh-oh, LeBron James quaking in his shoes.
Yep, he's going to get teed up for a non-unsportsmanlike foul for the team and give the opposing team a free throw. Okay. I like it. Flopping they've got to put an end to it. It's so pathetic. Not only the flop, but faking the injury right after. It's worse than, or not worse, it's as bad as soccer. Where you think the person broke their leg in an ungodly compound fracture, the way they writhe around on the ground, and then they get up and walk off.
Yeah.
Come on.
Again,
Stupid.
Why are you patterning yourself after the one sport that America has rejected for decades upon decades? Dave and I are no spring chickens. We remember when we were kids
that soccer was going to be the next big sport.
Yeah, they tried to jam it down our throats, and we said, no, we're going to go play a pickup baseball game. Play a pickup football game down the road in a field. Screw soccer. And if anybody in the neighborhood likes soccer, they might end up with a couple extra bruises at the end of the week.
Oh, but yeah, so the coaches cannot challenge the flop call. So when it's made, it's made. And then if the officials are reviewing another play and they go back and catch one, then they can call it at that point. They can go back and pick it up.
Now let's just hope this doesn't end up turning into, remember the pass interference?
Oh, God.
Because, of course, after the reactionary rule was put in after the Rams-Saints playoff game.
When they are so egregiously ignored.
The referees said, basically, they did a silent protest the next year when it was instituted and said, we're just not going to put up with it. We're not going to do any overturns on pass interference.
Even though it's so egregious.
Yeah. And so then, of course, Roger Goodell caves and says, okay, we won't do it anymore. There'll be no challenges
Goodell
anymore.
Is an asshat who doesn't have the balls to do what's right.
Nobody's saying being a commissioner in any of the four major sports is easy. But it can't be this hard where these guys are making stupid decision after stupid decision after stupid decision. It can't be this hard. It can't be this hard.
Well, obviously it is.
Well, of course, me personally, I would have loved to have heard the words, Greg Popovich is retiring from the NBA. But then, of course, the fateful ping pong balls drop. The draft goes the way the San Antonio Spurs dreamed it would. They got Victor Wembanyama from France, the next great prospect. Never been one better since LeBron.
Blah, blah, blah.
So, of
blah,
course,
blah.
magically,
Popovich has a renewed interest in coaching.
yeah, 5-year, $80+ million renewed interest in coaching.
Good God. That just stupidity.
And a lot of people are saying this is all because of the Pistons overpaying Monty Williams. Some say overpaying Monty Williams. Greg Popovich has got to be better than Monty Williams. Got to be paid better than Monty Williams.
No.
And then, of course, after a couple games, which this I don't have a problem with, Spurs shut down Wembanyama for the Summer League. Had one good game, I guess, one shaky game.
Wouldn't you want to get this kid in NBA form? Put him through the paces to know what he's going to be up against?
Yeah, because the stress and the pressure of that mid-season tournament's going to get to him.
My God.
Now, you know,
they baby everybody.
You know I cannot stand Popovich. I acknowledge that he's a good coach. But I also acknowledge the fact that probably they're number one, the Spurs. Orlando is number two when it comes to the lottery, the draft lottery, ping pong balls falling their way. He has gotten David Robinson, he has gotten Tim Duncan, and now he gets Victor Wembanyama. You know, the Magic got Shaq, they got Dwight Howard, and then recently Paolo Banchero. But oh my God, don't cry for Greg Popovich.
No, not at all. Just let him go quietly away.
Well, that's not going to happen for about 5 years minimum. So him and Steve Kerr will still sit there at the podium being grumpy men who think they're smarter than everybody else, telling everybody else about politics and the way they should vote instead of talking about their teams.
Focus on what you're paid to do.
But they're geniuses, Dave. Popovich and Kerr are geniuses.
Yeah, no. We'll agree to disagree with them on that.
Yeah, note sarcasm. Finally, I got a little fun story here. Not good enough to be the Clint Eastwood badass of the week, but still, I admire Patty Mills. Patty Mills, if you haven't heard, we had the free agency period recently. Patty Mills got shipped between 4 different teams in 10 days. Started with the Nets, then went to the Rockets, then went to the Thunder, finally ending up in Atlanta. Rumors are he could get moved again.
Oh my God.
So,
come on!
Again, not quite badass worthy, but still, the poor guy, he's got to be sitting there going, I don't know where the hell I'm going to end up.
Do I unpack?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
I'll just stay in a hotel. The team can pay for it. Oh, Lord.
All right, kids, that'll do it for segment 1. Dave and I are done with baseball and basketball. Well, professional basketball. Got some college sports to talk about in the next segment. But, of course, leading off segment 2 will be NASCAR.
Yep, we got some discussion to take care of here. We got some Hall of Fame nominees to go through.
Yeah, we got to recap the rain-shortened Atlanta race and the upcoming, God, I can't believe I'm saying these words, Crayon 301 at Loudon, New Hampshire. Dave's favorite track, by the way. Dave loves Loudon.
Nuke it off the face of the planet.
And on those cheery words, Sports Frenzy 2.0, after a quick promo break, we'll be right back, kids. Feeling mildly fatigued? Need a day off even if you just took one a few days ago? Make $30 million a year but just don't want to work for it? You need to join the NBA Load Management Club right now. When they're not napping or texting, guest lecturers Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving will describe foolproof ways to earn tens of thousands of dollars by not doing anything. Sports Frenzy 2.0, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, is currently negotiating with LeBron James to bring his popular How to Make the Hall of Fame Without Really Trying webinar live and in person to the Load Management Club. Thanks again to Sports Frenzy 2.0 and all you apathetic fans out there for making us a success.
All right, welcome back to segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0, recording here July 12th, dropping as always on Thursday this week, the 13th of July, 2023. He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
And he, of course, is the returning conquistador, Dave Height.
And we're going to race into our NASCAR discussion on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Amazon, Audible, iHeart, Apple, Overcast, CastBox, and Stitcher for a couple more weeks. So, recapping Atlanta. Sunday night race, rain shortened. There's a lot to rip on NASCAR for this one.
Yeah, my personal problem with it is night race on a Sunday night when there's not a holiday the next day is stupid beyond belief. You're not the NFL. The NFL has Sunday night games and Monday night games every week. So you get used to it. You get into the flow of it.
Yeah.
You know when the games are going to start. You know when the games are going to end.
You can plan accordingly.
Right.
NASCAR, they throw this one out. Oh, let's start at 7 p.m. on a Sunday night. No. Especially when you know you've got weather that's going to be coming into the area. Well, they couldn't predict it when they set up the schedule, but still, you got to give yourself a window because you know rain will happen in the summer. And you want to give yourself a chance to get it in or give yourself a window to delay it out and finish at a decent time.
And if you set a late start, there's no going back.
Right. You
set an earlier start, set a 4:30, 5 o'clock start, finish under the lights. Dave
if you want to, that's
that.
fine, as long as you can complete it by 8 or 9 o'clock.
But then if weather does move in, you've got some room to work with.
Yeah. The way they had it set up, they screwed themselves.
Yep, so you had a rain-shortened race, roughly fell 70 laps, I believe, short.
Yep, so now 2 weeks in a row you had rain-shortened events.
Yeah, and I have barely watched either one. I just don't have the patience to sit there, and wait until, what am I supposed to get? An alert on my phone from that idiot Steve Letarte? We're going racing!
God, he is so freaking annoying. He cannot shut up and let anybody else talk.
He is the worst. He is absolutely the worst.
Horrible.
And it's amazing to me that NASCAR puts up with him. The pole, Eric Almirola had the pole at Atlanta. But, of course, now his 4th win of the year, William Byron, again, wins a rain-shortened race.
They're good at that. They set themselves in a position.
Of course, what do we have? What race do we have in 2 weeks, Dave? We have Pocono.
Another notorious for rain.
Notorious for somebody winning out of the blue, staying out, and then the race getting called because of weather. So hopefully this week we'll get the race in, but we'll get to that in a minute. We've got some other interesting topics to cover in racing and NASCAR. And of course, let me have this one. Let me have this. This drops on July the 13th. July the 13th is the return on ESPN of Thursday Night Thunder.
Boom!
SRX returns. No more Saturday nights on CBS now. Thursday Night Thunder on ESPN starting July the 13th, Thursday night at Stafford Springs.
Yep. Been looking forward to the SRX return.
Again, starting a little bit later than I would like on a work night.
Yeah, I'd much preferred the Saturday, but I get it when ESPN and the Rat got a hold of it. It gave them a chance to resurrect one of their popular week shows when they had Thursday Night Thunder through the summer for racing. You used to get all your sprint car races and everything in. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I heard there's actually some decent names. I think Alan Bestwick is back. He didn't get laid off
Thank
from
God.
ESPN.
I like Alan Bestwick.
Yeah, they brought him over from the CBS broadcast.
Yeah.
So, very cool.
Yes.
Now we have NASCAR Hall of Fame news.
We do. We've got the pioneers and the modern drivers and crew chiefs. So we'll start off with the pioneering crew chiefs, Banjo Matthews and Ralph Moody. These guys were legendary for getting their cars set up and what they were able to do. Both are very worthy candidates. And then on the pioneers on the racing front, one of the founders of the Alabama gang, of course, Donnie Allison. Sam Ard, historic racer, and then, of course, the legendary A.J. Foyt. So, again, the three of them, you really can't go wrong putting any of them in. Very well deserving. Now, moving on to modern crew chiefs. Tim Brewer, Harry Hyde, and Chad Knaus.
Chad
Knaus is definitely going to get in. Harry Hyde has been a legend through the 80s into the 90s. Robert Duvall's character in Days of Thunder was modeled after Harry Hyde. And then you got Tim Brewer, who's always a solid crew chief for drivers. So I can't argue with those guys. They would be well deserved. But then you get to the drivers. Neil Bonnet, definitely worthy. Jeff Burton, to me, is kind of borderline.
Well, I've seen the list, and he's not even in a class with the guys that should get in.
Right. You got Carl Edwards, not deserving.
But he's better than Jeff Burton.
But better than Jeff Burton. Handsome Harry Gant, a legendary
that blew
driver.
Me away that he's not in already.
I know, he should be.
I figure that he's a lock. He should be a lock.
And then Jimmy Johnson.
And, of course, they will put him in because they can have the little love fest with him and Chad Knaus.
Yep. Larry Phillips, I don't even recognize that name.
If Dave doesn't recognize him.
And then Ricky Rudd. Okay, he's still, I don't think he's Hall worthy.
No, but again, you and I have exacting standards.
We do. So there you go. We'll see what happens.
I would hope Gant gets in. Johnson and Knaus will get in for sure. Allison, I would imagine, would get in.
He should. I would hope they put Neil Bonnet in.
And Neil Bonnet, yes. Neil Bonnet should get in as well. And then if they're going to pick somebody between the other ones, probably Rudd. Rudd, then Edwards, and then if they put Burton in just because he's doing broadcasts,
then we've got serious problems.
That will piss me off.
Yeah,
the dude didn't win that many races.
No,
at least Edwards won a decent share of races.
You can't argue with that, but still, neither of them really deserve to be in the Hall.
Again, exacting standards.
Yep. So there you go. Good news for Ross Chastain next year. With Kevin Harvick retiring, Busch Light will now sponsor the #1 Trackhouse Chevy of Mr. Chastain.
This was a sign from the racing gods, Dave. This was a sign. Because I have said, with Kevin Harvick retiring and having to pick a new racer to follow, I said I was going to go with the Melon Man. And now Busch Light does the same thing. This is a sign that I have made the right choice. I'm telling you.
There you go.
Ross Chastain next year will be the Maestro's go-to driver.
All right. Now, do we talk about the Crayon 301 from New Hampshire Speedway?
Yeah. Yeah, Loudon, the race, 20th of the season, of course, 26 total races before we get to the playoffs, happening this Sunday, July the 16th, 2023. 7 of our 8 picks in. Jen can be forgiven right now. She is sleeping in Germany, right?
Back in Paris.
Okay. Overseas.
Final night. As we're waking up in the morning, she is going to be getting on the flight to come back home.
So, little leeway here. She still hasn't missed the deadline yet, but still, despite the fact, she's, I don't know how many freaking hours behind ahead of us, whatever.
6 hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
And just absolute crazy schedules for work with the meetings and the travel from one side of Paris to the other to Germany and back. And it's just insane.
Are you guys still going to see Shania Twain this weekend?
We're leaning towards not at this point because she hasn't slept well at all over there. And coming back, the jet lag is still going to kick her ass. So I think she's going to be doing a lot of sleeping over the weekend.
Understood. So 7 of the 8 panelists that we have here at Sports Frenzy have their picks in for the Crayon 301. It's not even, I could deal with it. It's Crayola.
How about Crayola? The Crayola 301.
But it's Crayon's a different type of company. It's not Crayons. It's some other type of weird-ass company just called themselves Crayon.
Yeah.
I would rather have the Crayola 301.
Why couldn't it have been the Krylon?
Here's an idea. You have the Crayola 301, every car, different color crayon.
That would be brilliant.
How about that?
How about that? Who gets burnt sienna?
Yeah, I'll take burnt sienna. If I'm driving, I'll take it. Give it to Ross or Kevin Harvick. All right, now, little backstory here. If you haven't heard this before, I might have mentioned it once or twice in the past. When we do our picks, I have them ordered. Doesn't matter if it's football, baseball, whatever we're picking, in order of seniority. So I'm first, Dave is second, Sam, the elder statesman, third, Bill, the Big Blue W, fourth, then Mrs. C, then the juggler, the governor, and the Big Easy. Basically, when you join Sports Frenzy.
Right.
And that's been a tradition now for 30 years, ever since we started this bad boy. So I tend to look at the first 4 or 5 as the old guard. Yeah. There's family ties involved there. Of course, Bill, we met here at a local drinking establishment, and then he brought in the final 3.
Yep. So it's worked.
So I like to look at us kind of as the old guard. Well, the old guard.
We're all in sync on this one.
Kev, Dave, and Sam. The 3 elder members of Sports Frenzy.
The original crew.
All in sync, all on the same wavelength.
Martin Truex Jr.
Yep. Now, I had to make a choice between Loudon and Richmond. Because those were the 2 tracks I was looking at taking Truex. I figure I want as much of a cushion as I can get going into Daytona in that 26th race. So I didn't want to wait for Richmond. I only had 1 pick left. You think you might have a second.
I may have another one.
So you could go both.
I could.
But, yeah, Truex, very, very, very good, especially if you look at last year's race with the next-gen car. Won the first stage, won the second stage, didn't win the race, but that's still a hell of a lot of points.
Yeah. Points is what I need.
Yep. So Truex for the Maestro, the Conquistador, and the Elder Statesman. Then after that, it gets a little bit scattershot.
No.
The Big Blue W takes Brad Keselowski, coming off a very good
Very
showing.
solid run. The last couple weeks, he's been driving very well.
And Loudon is a good track for him normally.
Yep.
Again, different situation than what we're used to seeing with him now with Roush Fenway as opposed to with Penske in the past. So
not a bad pick.
Nick's got a pretty good pick too. The Juggler is taking Christopher Bell.
Yep. Defending champ from last year. He's the one that snuck in to take the win when Truex scuffled towards the end.
And why not stay with the same team for Doug? The Governor takes Denny Hamlin.
Not a bad pick. I was going back and forth between Hamlin and Truex.
Actually, none of these picks are really bad because Aaron taking Kevin Harvick. Happy's usually pretty good at Loudon. So
yeah, not a bad run.
I will make a bold prediction. Somebody's winning this week. Somebody on this panel is going to win this week because this is ridiculous. This is what, 3 years now?
With minimal wins?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's got more than 2 wins. There were times when we were putting up 5, 6, 7 wins.
Yeah, not anymore. I can't even get a sniff of a victory.
But nobody on our panel's got more than 2 wins this year.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
All right, I promise we're going to move on to college sports.
There's a lot going on in college sports.
Let's put it this way. We have controversy in both college basketball and college football.
And there's some college baseball as well.
Let's start off with the big news, though. College football. And this looks bad for the administration at Northwestern because this is like a Roger Goodell discipline situation where you throw a little pathetic slap on the wrist kind of penalty on somebody, and then after the public outcry, you go, oh, let's go all the way the other way.
Yeah. This whole thing, they started investigating these allegations of hazing with the Northwestern football program last November. And they decide, on the Friday after the 4th of July, we'll just drop a little announcement at the end of the day, and it'll all go away.
Yeah, head coach Pat Fitzgerald, how much did he know? And he has been coveted by other programs, by the pros. The Bears at one point in time were talking about bringing him in as their head coach.
I will say in this day and age, with all the anti-bullying and anti-hazing initiatives out there, if this taking place in the locker room, there's no way in hell he did not know it wasn't going on. As a coach, it is your responsibility to know everything that goes on in that locker room. And I do not buy that he didn't know. And another shame on the administration. You retained everybody else on the coaching staff. You're going to try and tell me nobody in the coaching staff that's left knew what was going on. I call bullshit.
Yeah, I agree with you. Come on. This whole ignorance is bliss viewpoint is wrong.
No.
Multiple people on that coaching staff had to have known what was going on.
I can see the person that they named interim head coach just came on as a defensive coordinator this offseason. I can see him not knowing the history of what was going on. He's the only one for me that gets a pass. Everybody else should be gone. You cannot have that kind of culture. And for Fitzgerald to claim ignorance after he tries to maintain his supposed clean program, I can't buy it. The baseball part, still at Northwestern, their coach, Foster, under fire now for running a toxic culture. Not only at Northwestern, I guess he cleaned it up a little bit for Northwestern, but still you had people leaving. They had, when the story came out, reporting it all, bringing it to light. When he was at West Point, absolutely god-awful, horrible person. When he was with Rhode Island, had a former pitcher come out and say he was abusive. He didn't want to hear about injuries. I had a torn labrum. He made me go out there every fifth day knowing that I wouldn't be able to move my arm for 2 days after.
Ridiculous. Now, when I was comparing the football penalty, the initial penalty to the NFL, initially, when I was doing the prep work for this episode, 2-week suspension effective immediately for Coach Fitzgerald. Of course, they weren't doing anything.
No, it was going to be when they weren't even in camp.
Camp doesn't start until August.
Deal. That is the ultimate slap on the wrist.
Right. And again, it reeks of Roger Goodell. Well, let me just put out a little bit and see what reaction I get.
Yeah.
Do I get away with it? And if I don't, then I'll bring the hammer down and act like I'm the Lord of Discipline.
Yeah, no. Northwestern effed this up from the beginning.
Now, on the flip side, the coach effed things up beyond belief. Not just because of what he knew, but because of his actions. The school did not F things up. And we were talking about, last week I mentioned, Bob Huggins resigned after his DUI as the basketball coach at West Virginia. Now, all of a sudden, Bob Huggins says, oh, no, that resignation wasn't me. That doesn't count.
Bull crap.
I want to be reinstated. You know what that means? He wants money.
Yeah.
He wants money.
No, Bob Huggins is a piece of refuse.
And I have tried over the years to stick up for the guy. But it's very difficult to stick up for a man like this.
Time after time after time, he shows what an arrogant ass he actually is.
And after all the ranting we did about Britt Reed with the Kansas City Chiefs, it would be hypocritical. The second DUI, this time with beer cans strewn all over the car, it would be hypocritical of me to not say this guy, rightfully so, what West Virginia did, forced him to resign.
Exactly. He needed to go.
And God help me if any other program picks this guy up.
He does not deserve another opportunity.
Unless he goes through AA and he proves for 5 years minimum he can stay sober, then maybe. Because luckily in this case,
nobody
he didn't
got hurt.
kill anybody. But again, that's the gamble. That's the risk of drunk driving. Some people can go through life scot-free. They do it, and they never get caught. Then you have people like Bob Huggins who get caught and hopefully will pay the penalty. And then you have idiots like Britt Reed who do it so often, so young, that they end up destroying somebody's life. It's not a gamble worth taking.
Now, moving on, talking about gambles not worth taking, let's talk about Georgia football players. The 11th Georgia football player since January 15th, when that tragic accident occurred and two Georgia football player and somebody associated with the training staff were killed in a drag racing accident. 11 more people have been cited for excessive speeding. When is Kirby Smart finally going to have the balls to tell these kids, you get caught speeding like this, you're sitting for a year and you lose your scholarship for a year. You have to pay for this and go.
And the sad thing is, to follow up on that, he's got all the power.
Yeah.
He's got the number one program in the country. He can tell these kids that and say, I got somebody else waiting in the wings who will transfer here in 2 seconds to take your place.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Wake Forest or Vanderbilt, where if they're going to lose a star player, they're going to figure out a way to get that kid on the roster with minimal penalty as soon as possible.
Yeah. And this isn't just 5-10 miles an hour over the speed limit. These are guys who are doing 80, 90 plus in 40-mile-an-hour zones. This is ridiculous. It's unacceptable. And Kirby's, well, we have to figure out how we're going to stop this. We've been trying to educate them. No, you have to bring the damn hammer down and make some consequences for these stupid kids.
And again, he's got all the power. If he chose to, he could say, you're out of the program because you're an idiot, and I can get somebody to transfer in from Miami, from Florida State.
But the only problem then is these kids with the transfer portal now. Deion's going to come in and pick them up for Colorado or
I have heard that program is not the shining, bright new light in the Pac-12. I've heard he's already destroying that program.
Yeah, and he's not making any friends in the Pac-12 at all.
No, not at all. All right, segment 2 is done. A little bit of professional football news to discuss. In segment 3, a little bit of media news.
We've got a little bit of golf. There's a report that came out that I find very interesting that we'll get into.
And then, of course, as always, moments of silence and our dumbasses of the week. Dave and I have got one final segment left here. Don't forget, though,
the weekend edition.
We're not technically done with the week yet until we get to your Saturday morning hangover cure. But I digress. One final segment of Sports Frenzy 2.0 coming up. Quick promo. We will be right back. Are you tired of getting body slammed by the mainstream sports media? Are you sick of their lame trash talk? Check out Sports Frenzy 2.0 with a tag team of the Maestro and the Conquistador. Pile drive those jackasses into submission. Available on all major podcast hosts, including Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox. Kev Dave slap a figure 4 on all the major sports networks who lie, kiss ass, and refuse to take names. New episodes drop every Thursday with new weekend edition episodes every Saturday. And that's the bottom line, 'cause Sports Frenzy said so. All right, kids, third and final segment here, Sports Frenzy 2.0, the return of the Conquistador, Dave Height.
All right, kids, final segment. It's going to be some fun. Our favorite sport, the NFL.
And we've talked about this for years because this is going back to 2022. Alvin Kamara gets a sweet-ass plea deal.
Oh, my God.
Have you heard this before when it comes to a high-profile athlete? Of course, we're going back to the situation where he and his posse
beat the hell out of a guy.
Right. So, of course, with this plea deal, Alvin Kamara pleads no contest to a misdemeanor charge of breach of peace.
Oh, come on. Absolute crap, considering he was facing felony battery and also conspiracy to commit bodily harm.
Yeah.
But of course, instead of going through the full lawsuit, he settled with the victim. in a private agreement.
Of course. Of course.
I hate this shit.
Because
he should have
justice is
been
never
held
served.
accountable.
You are not teaching any kind of a lesson. They're just going to go out and do it again, knowing that they can pull out their checkbook and make it all go away.
Yeah, don't like it at all. Not at all.
Now, again, we talked about the inconsistency of one Roger Goodell. What will he do now in terms of discipline?
Who knows? Maybe a game?
I want to see at least a game suspension out of this. If he lets Kamara slide with nothing...
With this...
That's sending a
any
message...
assault or anything, minimum 4. Minimum 4.
If he does not give Alvin Kamara a suspension on this, that is sending a message to the rest of the league. Again, your paycheck, your checkbook will buy you out of trouble.
Yeah. There has got to be consequences. People need to be held accountable for their actions. You see what anarchy is going on out in California, where they're not arresting anybody for anything. It's freaking ridiculous.
No, you get fired for videotaping shoplifters.
Yeah. Come on. Absolutely insane.
The inmates are officially running the asylum.
Quite literally.
Speaking of crazy people, it looks like it's going to be official here. The New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers
are going to be on Hard Knocks. Gee, there's a shock. They've only been trying to set themselves up for it from the beginning.
Oh, they claim they didn't want any part of this.
Oh, bull crap. They wanted it so bad they could taste it.
Well, when you consider what was it, the Bears and the Saints were the other main contenders, fitting into the qualifications.
Yeah.
Not having a brand new head coach, not having made the playoffs, for 2 years? Something like that.
Whatever. No. I want nothing to do with Hard Knocks.
I might
for
watch
my
this.
team.
I might watch this.
For my team.
Right.
I don't want my team on it with the distractions.
The Bears don't need this. Because I'm still on the fence about Matt Eberflus.
Amen.
But as a viewer, this might be the one time I watch Hard Knocks.
The train wreck that is Aaron Rodgers at camp.
Oh, no. See, here's the thing, kids. If you haven't figured this out about the maestro by now, I feed off stupidity, and it makes me angry, and I feed off that anger, and I just turn into a big ball of fury and take it out on everybody around me, especially Dave. But watching Aaron Rodgers, his pompous arrogance my blood pressure will boil every episode.
But you're going to secretly love it when New York fans finally get to see what they got.
Because I guarantee this team might, at the best case scenario, squeak in as the last wild card. That's the best case scenario. They are not going to the Super Bowl. They are not going to the AFC Championship. They are not beating the Bills. And if Tua stays healthy, they're not beating the Dolphins.
No, and they sure as hell aren't getting by the Bengals, and they sure as hell aren't getting by the Chiefs.
Right. And I question whether they're better than the Chargers. They're not better than the Jaguars.
No.
I'm telling you.
So there you go. Mid-pack team.
In soccer. Let's move on to soccer. Everybody's favorite lesbian.
The blue-haired wonder.
Purple.
Oh, it's purple now?
Purple hair.
See, the picture...
Purple nurple.
The picture they had today was blue.
Maybe she just changed it, but the purple-haired lesbian, Megan Rapinoe, is retiring at the end of the year. She's going away.
Yep.
Unfortunately, you know damn well she's not going away. She'll end up in a commentary booth somewhere. She'll still be on commercials because she's everybody's favorite lesbian. Not mine.
There you go. Whatever. Bye-bye.
The New York Times, in a shocking move when it comes to sports media, sign of the times, disbands their sports desk.
Amazing, isn't it?
They're going to, I guess, latch on to the Athletic and use them as their primary sports now.
There are so many smaller outlets that have better sources and do a much better reporting job nowadays.
Yep.
That it's no wonder. So, little bit of golf. The congressional hearings about the PGA and LIV merger kind of brought out some of the discussions they had on ousting Greg Norman for his role in LIV. There was discussions about having LIV teams owned by Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy. And now it's coming out that McIlroy may have been meeting with the Saudis back in November.
What? No. Pure and clean as a driven snow, Rory McIlroy?
Yep, he probably didn't get the money he wanted.
And that's why he turned into the guy who was most vociferous about ripping into LIV.
Exactly. So now, we all know Rory is not the squeaky clean choir boy that he tries to make himself out to be.
No, he is not. All right. Let's move on to moments of silence. Dave's got a couple for you, and then I have a rant involving one of mine.
Yep. So, kind of New York Giants legend, college football legend, Johnny Cooks passed away at 74. He's won a Super Bowl and passed away, so thoughts and prayers to his family and friends. And then Nikki McCray-Penson, WNBA player, Olympic gold medalist at 51, lost her battle with breast cancer. So thoughts and prayers to her family and friends.
Yep. Women's Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Basketball Hall of Fame. All right. I hate to revisit this topic that we just had to bring up in relation to Mr. Bob Huggins. This isn't directly related to sports. This kid played high school football. Didn't look like, maybe as a walk-on, he was going to make the team at UCF. But nonetheless, incoming freshman for UCF, again, high school player, Jacob Lloyd, and his father. His father's name was Shane. Killed by a 3-time DUI, Leslie Garrett. And again, not sure the kid was going to make the football team. Not sure he was.
But still, regardless, it's inexcusable in this day and age.
Again, 3-time. Huggins was nailed twice. Yeah. This was his second time. Now, to me, the second is extreme. That we know of. Yeah, the second's extreme. Know of. When you're finding empty beer containers in the car, that's to me an extreme DUI. I don't care if the extreme means the level of blood alcohol. When you have got alcohol containers wide open all over your car, to me, that's an extreme. You have a problem. Yeah. So this woman, this was her 3rd time with a DUI. Witnesses say she looked around, grasping the steering wheel, stunned, after she just killed the young man, Jacob Lloyd, and his dad, Shane.
Absolutely pathetic.
And if
she should be going away.
And if there's nothing else, no other message that we get across to you guys and gals out there, do not drink and drive. We will rail on things like domestic violence. We will rail on the hypocrisy of the government, the hypocrisy of Hollywood when we talk in the weekend edition. But above all, when you are driving a 2,000-pound plus vehicle and you cannot operate the vehicle properly because you have had too much to drink. In this day and age, it's so easy to call Uber, call a friend,
call a Lyft,
call a relative if you can't afford it. But if you can't afford it, then how are you affording the booze?
Exactly. There's no excuse.
So thoughts and prayers to the Lloyd family for losing Jacob and Shane. And again, I just hate stories like this.
It's so easily avoided.
So what do we do, Dave? What do we do?
Pivot.
In the immortal words of Ross Geller on Friends,
we pivot to the Red Foreman dumbasses.
I miss that wonderful intro we had years and years ago for Red Foreman.
The way they're screwing up his life, death would be a sweet release.
Only got a couple this week, so I don't think it's worth it to play dumbass or not.
No.
Maybe on the weekend edition.
Oh, I think weekend edition is going to be a boon.
And first off, let me call out somebody who we would not normally have anywhere near sniffing the Dumbass of the Week award. But maybe one time in the past, I seem to recall this gentleman destroying a cell phone when he was under investigation. But now the retired Tom Brady reports here this past week that in the FTX debacle / collapse, he lost chump change. He lost cup of coffee. Tom Brady lost $30 million in the collapse of FTX.
Yeah, that was his value of the shares he was paid for doing the commercials.
Still.
No, sorry. I can't cry for him.
Don't these athletes, these celebrities vet?
No, they see the paycheck.
I know.
You see the paycheck and there you go. It's a paid endorsement.
Let's stick with first world problems. Because of course, Tom Brady losing $30 million in FTX value. First world problem.
Yeah. I could only dream.
He's not going to be begging on the street corner for change after this.
No, he's set for life. Come on.
So let's move on to tennis. Dave, do you know what the newest problem is at Wimbledon? Which, of course, we'll be talking about the champions next week here on Sports Frenzy.
That they let Larry Nassar watch it from prison?
Yeah, Larry Nassar, who
the pedophile who molested all the female gymnasts for Team USA
happened to meet the wrong end of a shiv multiple times this past week.
Almost killed in prison after he made the comment while watching Wimbledon that he would prefer to see girls playing in the women's matches. And another inmate did not take kindly to those words from the pedophile Nassar. Wow,
I did not know that. I did not know the details. I have to admit that.
Stabbed twice in the neck, 6 or 7 times in the back.
All about that comment about tennis?
Yep.
Did not know that. Wow.
Yep, that was
not where I was going.
That's the report that came out. So I wanted to throw that Nassar was the dumbass in prison. It was just a nice segue tie-in that you gave me.
No, and I was going to say the worst news I think we all heard this week was when it came out that he was in stable condition.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, the first world problem that Wimbledon has, and I guess this has been a problem they've had for multiple years. These damn people in the crowd popping champagne corks
what
during
are you doing
serve.
Popping champagne in the crowd to begin with?
Again, first world problem.
Absolutely ridiculous.
This year, of course, somebody popped a champagne cork right when somebody was about ready to serve. And they had to come on the PA.
Please refrain from opening your bottles during the match play.
Yeah. So let's just say all of the pretentious idiots popping champagne bottles at tennis events, you're all dumbasses. We get it. You're rich.
Screw you, we don't care.
And then finally, another story that's kind of been floating around in the ether for a while. I believe, actually, this story has been on one of our favorite shows on Patrol Live.
Yes, it has.
Xavier Babudar, Chiefs superfan, finally arrested after at least six, unsolved or attempted bank robberies.
Yep. Oh my God. Yeah, he was on a segment of, he was on a wanted segment of On Patrol Live a few weeks back. So they finally got the dumbass.
Yes, finally caught Xavier Babudar.
Babudar.
Yep.
He was a very, very, very bad man.
That's going to do it for Sports Frenzy 2.0. But
the weekend edition drops Saturday morning.
Going to talk about some things that we were supposed to last week. We're going to talk about Evil Dead Rise, technically the fifth movie in that series. I look at it as the second reboot.
Yeah, it's got really not much to do with the original.
We've got our TV and streaming picks of the week, including my review of season 6 of Black Mirror. I cheated. I watched 2 this week to finish up the short 5-episode season.
There you go. I've completed part 1 of season 3 of The Witcher and am entrenched in the final season of Jack Ryan.
In music, Dave's going to play a little catch-up. Had to talk about something last week, so I did discuss Mammoth WVH, the new song. But we have got Aaron Jones' new album, his second, Chronicles of the Kid, and we have got some very, very interesting music from Rick Springfield.
That's a good way to put it.
Along with the latest from the Hives.
Yep.
And
we got you covered. Book reviews.
Book reviews, believe it or not.
Notice reviews.
I actually got through a book, kids.
Woohoo!
Pat myself on the back.
Second one this year?
Third? Third, maybe? God, I got to check. It's got to be at least 3. I would think it's
3.
July. It's got to be maybe 4. Maybe 4.
It might be the 4th.
I would
because I think we've done 2 or 3, maybe.
Yeah, it
could be
4.
Your 4th.
It's got to be 4 because I'm on pace for my usual 9 or 10. So you've got that to look forward to this coming Saturday morning. Your hangover cure with your Uncle Dave and your Uncle Kev.
Story times will be present as well.
Yes. So plenty to come here in just a couple days. Saturday morning, July the 15th. Check out the weekend edition, and we'll be back here in 7 days with more ranting and raving about the Cubs, the White Sox, and sports in general. He's Dave.
He's Kev.
And until next week, see ya, kids.